Hello, everybody. Welcome to Voices Big and Small. On this episode, I'll be profiling um, Funimation and Bang Zoom voice actor Chris Cason. He started out with Funimation and has since moved out to Southern California, out to LA. So, on this episode, we'll be taking a look at his career a little bit and hopefully getting you all more familiar with some of the stuff he's done. So, without no further ado, let's get started. Christopher L. Cason is an American voice actor for English language productions of Japanese anime shows, mostly with Funimation. Some of his major roles include Babbitt in Kadocha, Haruki Hanai in School Rumble, Gluttony in Full Metal Alchemist. Um, he has also worked as an ADR director and scriptwriter on episodes of Case Closed and Yuka Yuna is a Hero. With that little introduction out of the way, and by the way, he was born November 4th, 1974, which would make him 45 years old. So, so of course, Chris started working through Funimation in the early 2000s. Some of his first roles included um, Funimation's dubs of the Dragon Ball franchise. On Dragon Ball, he was cast as the English voice of Agent Shu. In Case Closed, the Miraculous Investigation, he was cast as Al Watson. And also in the early 2000s, in the Dragon Ball Z dubs, he would be cast in the roles of Shinhan in the DBZ dub, Mr. Popo, Pintar, Malaka, and Orlin. He would also lend his voice to the Funimation dubs of The Vision of Esclafone and Esclafone the movie, as he would be cast as the English voice of Shesta in Funimation's dub of the Esclafone franchise. Um, he would, of course, those are more recent. As Funimation just more recently, within the last few years, here picked up the Esclafone licenses. So even though it was originally shown back in the early 2000s, under with Ocean Studios doing the dub. Um, Once Funimation got the right to it, they redubbed it. So, um, and in 2000 as well, he would reprise his role as Malaka in Dragon Ball Z Bardock, the father of Goku. Now some of the little, you know, some of that stuff out of the way. So as we get into 2002, he was cast in Yu Yu Hakusho as the English voices of Miyamoto, one of Kuwabara's best friends, as well as Yen, aka M1, during the, of course, Dark Tournament saga. And then in 2003, in Dragon Ball GT, he would, of course, once again reprise his role as Agent Shu, as well as being cast as the English voice of Rage Shenron. Then, as we move ahead to 2004, in Case Closed, a show that he also served as ADR director on a few occasions, he would be cast the English voices of Keith Norse, Shunin, Irby Corbson, and Mark. So a few characters there. And as we move further in 2004, he would be cast as a number of roles in in Funimation's dub of One Piece. Those roles would include Mr. 11, Satori, Fuza, Hattori, Kotori, Chirp Chirp, Papapagu, Leo the cook, Popo, and Rice Rice. They actually actually provide the English voice of two characters named Popo. That's very interesting. Then in the Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament video game, he would reprise his role as the English voice of Yen M1. Then, as we move further ahead into 2004, um, probably his most well-known role came as he was cast the English voice of Gluttony in the Full Metal Alchemist. Then in Dragon Ball GT: A Hero's Legacy, he was cast as the English voice of a teacher. Then, as we move ahead to 2005, he would be cast as the English voice of Babbitt in Kodocha. Also in 2005, in Full Metal Alchemist 2: Curse of the Crimson Elixir video game, he would reprise his role as the English voice of Gluttony. Also in 2005, he was cast as the English voice of the 125 conductor on Galaxy Railways. And as we move ahead to 2006, in Desert Punk, he was cast as the English voice of Wano. Also in 2006, in Negima, he was cast as the English voice of Kamo, the Ermil. Basically about a wizard who had to pass one final test by trying to assimilate into the world without anybody figuring out that he was a wizard. So an interesting story there. Um, it's a cute story too, in that the main character now, Camo the Emerald, is the pet basically, or the advisor to the main character Negima, and so his assignment for this is basically being a teacher at an all girls school. And considering that he's, if anything, he's chronologically younger than his students, so but he's a genius and a wizard, so go figure. We move ahead into 2006 here. In Basilisk, Chris was cast as the English voice of Kazamachi Shogun. Also in 2006, in Funimation's dub of Chin-Chan, he's cast in the English voices of Whitey Lucky, Boo Bo, and Philip. Then he would reprise his role as the English voice of Gluttony in the Full Metal Alchemist, the movie Conqueror of Shambhala in 2006. Also in 2006, he was cast as the English voice of the Pilaf Machine Combined for the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 video game. Then as we move ahead to 2007, in BTX, he'd be cast the English voice of Hokuto. In Beat the Vandal Buster, he was cast the English voice or vocalizations of Toto, the pig. And then in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, he was cast the English voice of Kero. Also in 2007, in School Rumble, he was cast as the English voice of Haruki Hanai. In the anime Hell Girl, Chris was cast as the English voice of Yoshiki Fukusawa. He would then reprise his role as the English voice of Pilaf Machine Combined in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 video game. Then as we move ahead to 2008, he was cast in the anime Shuffle as the English voice of the KKK captain. Don't remember that, that actually. I don't think it has anything to do with what KKK means here in America, but moving on. Also in 2008, in Black Blood Brothers, he was cast as English voice of Rinsuke Hakai. Black Blood Brothers is about a pair of vampiric brothers, as I recall. Then also in 2008, he was cast the English voice of Genha in Baldur Force EXE Resolution. He would then reprise his role as Haruki Hanai in School Rumble Extra Class. In the anime Gyu Sei, he would be cast as the English voice of Tato. He would once again reprise his role as Haruki Hanai in School Rumble second semester. Then in 2008, he would reprise his role as the English voice of Camel in the Negima summer and spring specials. Then in Oran High School Host Club, he was cast in the English voice of Shikage Ukyo. He would then reprise his role as Agent Shu in Dragon Ball Origins video game. He would once again reprise his role as Kamo in Negima with a question mark. And then as we move ahead to 2009, he would be cast as a number of characters in Save Me Lollipop, which of course include the English voice or vocal characterizations of Owl, Stepcat, Airfish, Imai, and Stuffed Bear. Also in 2009, in The Gray Man, he was cast as the English voice characterizations of Number 65. In Romeo X Juliet, I guess actually pronounced Romeo Juliet, he was cast the English voice of the priest. In Bakano, he was cast the English voice of Spike. In Kaze no Stigma, he was cast the English voice of Kosuke Utsumi. He would then reprise his role as Gluttony in Full Metal Alchemist Premium OVA Collection. In Big Wind Up, he was cast as the English voice of Kazutoshi Oki. And in Sergeant Frog, he was actually cast in the lead role of Kororo, as well as Taruru and Getsu in Sergeant Frog. Also in 2009, he would be cast in the Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo video game. The English voice, he would reprise his role as English voice of Agent Shu. Then in Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple, here's another good fighting anime. This is a pretty funny one. You guys should really check out. He was cast the English voice vocalization of Tochimaro the mouse, as well as Siegfried. Then he was also involved in both the Tower of Druaga series. Let's see. In the first Tower of Druaga, the Aegis of Uruk, he was Druaga. And then in the Tower of Druaga, the Aegis of Uruk, the Quest of Jil, he was the weapons dealer. Moving ahead in 2009, in Bamboo Blade, he was cast the English voices of Nobu and Rainey's father. Then in the 2009 movie Case Closed, Captured in Her Eyes, he was cast the English voices of Detective Chiba and Corbin. He would then reprise his role as the English voice of Detective Chiba in Case Closed, Countdown to Heaven movie in 2010. So we're now into 2010. In Sands of Destruction, he was cast as the English voice of the cat-eared dealer. In Soul Eater, he was cast in English voices or vocalizations of Golem, Jack the Ripper, and Watson. He would then reprise his role as Gluttony in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. In the 2010 movie Case Closed: The Phantom of Baker Street, he would reprise his role as English voice of Detective Chiba, as well as being the English voice of Akira um, Mori. Also in 2010, Chris would reprise his roles as the English voices of Pintar and Mr. Popo, as well as being cast in English voice of Turtle in Dragon Ball Kai. In My Bride is a Mermaid, he would be cast as the English voice vocal characterizations of Octopus Nakajima. Um, in Hitalia Axis Powers, he would be cast the English voice of Holy Roman Empire. In Corpse Princess, he would be cast the English voice of Rinsen Shirai. Then in O Edo Rocket, he would be cast the English voice of Genzo. In Tsubasa Tokyo Revelations in 2011, he would be cast as the voice of Yuto. In Phantom Requiem of the Phantom in 2011, he would be cast as the voice of Lutz. In The Sacred Blacksmith, he would be cast as the English voice of Reginald Drummond. In Chrome Shelled Regios, he would be cast as the English voice of Dexerio Muscane. Also in 2011, in T.O. Elliptical Orbit and Symbiotic Planet, he would be cast as the English voice of Mark. Then in 2011 in Fairy Tale, he would be cast the English voices of Hadai, Karaka, and Wally Buchanan. He would reprise his role as the English voice of Holy Roman Empire in Hitalia World Series in 2012, as we're now getting into 2012. In Sengoku Basara Samurai Kings 2, he'd be cast the English voice of Takenaka Hanbei. In the video game Street Fighter Tekken, he would be cast as the English voice of Mega Man. He would then reprise his role as Gluttony in the his English voice of Gluttony in the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood 4-panel comic theater short. As we move ahead further ahead into 2012 here, he'd be cast in Dead Man Wonderland as the English voice of Komodo. In Shiki, he would be cast the English voice of Ishida. In the Borderlands 2's video game, he'd be cast the voices of Shooty Face, Mal, Generic Male, and Skeleton. In Aria the Scarlet Ammo, he would be cast as the English voice of Ryo Shiranai. Aria the Secret Scarlet Ammo is a bit of a gunplay type anime for those of you who might be into that. Then in 2013, in the English dub of Toriko, he was cast in the English voice of Bay. Toriko, I just started watching that recently. It's a pretty interesting show. It's got some connections to One Piece. Basically about what they call gourmet hunters, going out searching out for the. I haven't seen this particular episode yet, or this character yet, but something to check out. Also in 2013, in the Walking Dead Survival Instinct video game, he was cast as the voice of Deputy Jimmy Blake. As we're still in 2013 here, in the English dub of Michiko and Hachin, cast as the English voice of Nuno. In the Future Diary, he was cast as the English voice of Ryuji Kurosaki. In the anime Is This a Zombie? of the Dead. He was cast as the English voice of Raccoon. Then we're now moving into 2014 as in Space Dandy. He was the cast the English voice of the Register. He did the cash register with hands. In your Mungan Perfect Order, he was cast the English voice of Hopkins. In Psycho-Pass, he was cast as the voice of Yuji Kanehara. In the Smite video game, he was cast as the voice of Shinobu Kuzenbo, the English voice of Shinobu Kuzenbo. In the anime A Certain Scientific Railgun S, he was cast as the English voice of Hirotada Sekimura. In the anime The Devil is a Part-Timer, he was cast as the English voice of Tamura. He would then reprise his role as Agent Shu in the movie Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods in 2014. Still in 2014, in the Borderlands pre-sequel video game, he was cast as Dr. Atone and Wolf. In the Dragon Ball Xenoverse video game, he would reprise his role as Orlin. Now we're getting into some of his LA credits, as apparently one of his first LA credits starts in 2015, as he was in Sword Art Online 2. He was cast as the English voice of Techi. So now we're going to see some of his works from Bang Zoom as well here. In the Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F movie in 2015, he was cast as the English voice, or he reprised his role as the English voice of Agent Shu. Then in Ping Pong the Animation, he was cast as the English voice of Koeda. Then in the Seven Deadly Sins, he was cast as the English voice of Marmus. I believe that may be another one out here in LA. In Xenoblade Chronicles 10 or X, the video game, he was cast as the voice of Tatsu. In the Mega Dimension Neptunia 8 video game in 2016, as we're now into 2016 here, cast the English voice of Steamax. In the 2016 dub of the 2011 Hunter x Hunter series, he was cast the English voices of Bluster and Centipede. Then in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blood Orphans, he was cast the English voices of Dexter Calastor and Orlis Stenja. In One Punch Man, he was cast as the English voice of Sluggerus. In Danganronpa 3, The End of Hope's Peak High School Despair arc, he was casting his voice of Soshun Murasame. In the Asterisk War, he was cast as the English voice of Song Ron. In Izetta, The Last Witch, he was cast as the English voice of Heisenberg. He would then reprise his role as Orlin in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 video game. In Sengoku Basara, The End of Judgment, he would reprise his role as the English voice of Takenaka Hande. Then in 2017, in Dragon Ball Super, he would, of course, reprise his roles, the English voices of Agent Shu and Mr. Popo, as well as providing the English voice for Mule. In the Fire Emblem Heroes video game, he would provide the English voices of Forsyth and Percival. In the Seven Deadly Sins Signs of Holy War, he would reprise his role as Marmus. In Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valencia video game, he would reprise his role as Forsyth. Then as we move into 2018 here, he was cast in Regarding Zero, Starting Life in Another World as the English voices of Russell Fellow, Man in Slums, Convenience Store Clerk, Lizard Man Shopkeeper, and Innkeeper. And then in Ace Attorney Season 2 in 2018, he was cast the English voice of Tristan Turnbull. He would then, of course, reprise his role as Shu in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie in 2019. Also in 2019, in Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty, he would be casting English voices of Mythlandia talent show announcer, audience member, and Elf Boss. He would then be cast as the male player in God Eater 3 video game. He would reprise his role as Chirp Chirp in the One Piece adventures in Nebulandia. He would, I believe, reprise his role as English voice Satori in One Piece episode of Sky Pia. And then now in 2020 here this year in the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot video game, he would reprise his roles as Turtle, Agent Shu, and Mr. Popo. So those are all the roles of Chris Cason. He still goes. I know he still goes back to Dallas probably to when they need him to go in to do stuff for like Dragon Ball and stuff like that. But he's also moved out to Los Angeles to pursue more opportunities through Bang Zoom and stuff. So kind of going back and forth between Dallas and LA. But if you guys ever get a chance to check out some of the other works, sure most of us are aware of his work on like Dragon Ball and Full Metal Alchemist. But there's some other stuff he's been in too that you guys might want to check out. So with that, you guys can check the links below. My Discord is down there. You guys can, if you want to contact me directly, you can direct message me on Discord. You can check out the Discord and join if you'd like as well. I'm still promoting a bunch of different dub companies. Granted, I know I still do some Funimation voice actors, but a lot of the ones I do are the ones who are just trying to go to work every day, and they're not really involved in all the whole mess of it. And I just hope you guys will support those individuals who've just chosen to remain professional and just you know as I've even been talking with Tug lately about the idea of promoting the good instead of demoting the bad. So I hope you guys will check out the work. Also, still promoting the GoFundMe's, or Vic's GoFundMe. I'm also promoting, that Umbrella Guy and Little Umbrella Girl's latest project as well. You guys might want to check that stuff out. As always, guys, never feel like you have to donate. If you have the means to, it's on your heart to do so, please consider donating. If you have already donated, please consider donating again. And if you cannot donate, you can still help out the cause by sharing the link. You never know. Sharing is caring. You never know. Maybe somebody in your circle of friends might see it and say, yeah, I want to help out too. This is kind of bad. I want to help out as well. Um, so with that as well, and if you like this content, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I always look forward to the conversations with you guys as long as it's civil respect. I hope to see you here at the premiere. I hope when you guys are watching this, you'll be enjoying the premiere. And if I don't see you at the premiere, then I will see you on Monday. Bye.